Hi guys, I am so excited to share this video with you. I have wanted to do a houseplant and home tour video for so long. So we will just jump right in and get started in my front room and living room, which is this space here. It's the space that you see when you first walk into my house. I have northeast facing windows in this room, which means it gets a ton of great natural light, and it is the biggest window in the apartment, so therefore the most covered in plants. One of my favorite features in this space is my mini greenhouse, which I've linked in the description below. Because I have so many plants in this space, if they're not arranged sort of strategically, I find that they can all just kind of get lost amongst each other and your eye kind of misses the unique beauty of each one. So a great kind of design hack for preventing that is adding elements like the greenhouse that create a focal point for your eye to kind of group the plants together and separate them from the others around them. That way, when you look at the space, each plant or grouping of plants really occupies their own area and it's not just like a blur of green. Having a shelving unit like this one is also helpful with that because it has these distinct compartments that make separating the plants apart from one another easier. Another thing you will of course notice in this space is hanging plants, which are a great way to utilize all the natural light that this window gets without using up too much surface area on things like shelving and furniture, which can definitely block light from getting into the rest of the room. The hanging plants have all been strategically placed as well. I obviously had to consider the light needs of each plant, but you'll notice that each of the hanging plants in this window have distinctly different leaf shapes, textures, colors, and they're all sort of different lengths, which is another way of preventing them from all kind of just blending together and making sure I'm showcasing the uniqueness of each different kind of plant. So while it kind of looks like a jungle of random plants, there is actually quite a bit of consideration that has gone into where I place them. So in this particular window, you see mostly different varieties of pothos and some Hoyas. This wispy little Tradescantia, which I really love. It has these cute little curly leaves and just adds some nice texture and color. And my Philodendron Florida Beauty, which is also really nice in this window because it has a more upright versus trailing growth habit, so it adds some character and variance amidst these traditional hanging basket plants. As we move away from the window here in this room, I've placed fewer and more low light tolerant and kind of adaptable plants in this space, like pothos and syngoniums. The room still gets a good bit of indirect light, especially on sunny days, and another thing that really drew me to this apartment was the very bright white walls, which really give a clean overall aesthetic and also help with reflecting that sunlight to keep the space lovely and bright. Since there's less focus on plants as the main decor element in this area of the space, most of my decorative items default to found objects and other little trinkets I've just collected here and there. And of course, candles and flowers on my coffee table are a staple for me. Since the space is pretty small, there are also lots of discrete storage bins placed throughout this area of the home. I've sort of used every various nook and cranny that I can to make the space feel neat and uncluttered as possible. You will also find a lot of books in this room, many of which are home decor and plant themed that I have gathered inspiration from over the years. I have a few favorites that I've linked in the description box below as well. Books have just always been a really important part of my life for as long as I can remember, like literally since I was a child, and so there is just something comforting on a core level about having them in my space. I have them and cute journals, which are another weakness of mine, around the apartment in similar subjects and color schemes, which I think just helps add a nice clean look because I like keeping these beautiful objects visible throughout the house, and I like it when they look sort of uniform and prettily presented. They are also, of course, pretty inexpensive decor pieces that have a lot of sentimental value, which is also important in my space. I like the feeling of knowing that all of the objects in my home are meaningful or beautiful or particularly personal to me. A lot of what's in this space is thrifted or has just kind of been collected over time or is rather inexpensive, which is generally the way that I like to decorate, with a few exceptions here and there, like this one of my more recent additions to the space, which is this rug that I absolutely love from Anthropologie, which I have also included in the description below. But I would say that by and large, the decor in this room has just been sort of collected over time and includes some of my most favorite planters, fun candles, lots of little stones and rocks and gemstones that I've collected. Maps that I have collected on my travels also make an appearance on the walls in this space, which I think make great alternatives to frame artwork on the walls, and just little nods of things here and there that simply delight and inspire me. Alright, so the next room we'll head into is the bedroom, which is right off of my living room and is also just a sanctuary of plants. Again, this room gets a ton of lovely natural light, and in here are a lot of hanging plants because I don't have much shelving or furniture or tabletop space. I could probably have more, but my kitty insists that he have some space in the window too. But the hanging plants in here work great because I have basically a wall of southeast facing windows, and as you can see, I've strategically placed plants with different leaf varieties in front of these windows as well so that each one really stands out on its own. One thing I feel I should mention at this point in the tour is that I used to work at a garden center, so I'd say about 80% of the plants in here have come from there or other cute little local plant shops, which I frequently visit, as that is definitely another favorite hobby. In addition to the great natural light that this room also gets, another thing I really love about this part of that apartment is that it really feels like waking up in a treehouse every morning because I have most of my plants hanging right over my bed, and right outside my window are just tons of old, beautiful trees that just really nicely mirror and work with the green that I have hanging inside. So within the next few weeks, when the leaves change too, this room just glows with this really warm autumnal golden that is just so pretty, specifically in the fall. I love it year round, but it is just beautiful in like September and October. My bedroom gets a lot of light on sunny days, but one hack you'll see throughout my home for keeping plants further away from the windowsill is that actually a lot of the plants on wall hanging planters and in some of the smaller pots in the house are actually not rooted in soil. They are sitting in water. With all the plants that I have in this house, I am able to take lots of cuttings often and I'll put them in glass jars and then set those jars inside of more decorative planters, and that way I can fill in space here and there with new plants wherever I need without having to buy them. I have managed to place quite a few of these very easy to care for sort of homemade plants throughout the apartment, and they're great because they don't require any care, really, as long as you just keep them filled with enough water. Another quite lovely feature of this room are the built-in bookcases, which do offer a lot of practicality and storage, and also some space for me to put my more inspiring collectibles, art supplies, things I have found and collected on travels, and things I have made, like this book page garland made out of an old book about trees, some art by some of my favorite local artists, art supplies and trinkets from my travels, like this old lunchbox, which I got at a flea market in Florence that I use as art supply storage now, dried flowers and sage bundles I've made, of course, more rocks and stones, tiles, candles, and just all kinds of collected things that just bring me joy and feel more meaningful for me to have in my space than kind of more traditional decor. From my bedroom, we head through another set of French doors into my beloved art studio. I knew as soon as I walked into this apartment for the first time that this would make such a lovely creative space, and yes, it most certainly has. Almost everything I have created over the past 7 years has been made right here in this magical space. Again, the lighting in here is perfect and bright, and I love how the walls are mostly windows on two sides, so it gets plenty of that glowy, happy energy pretty much year-round. Of course, I have more plants in here too, as well as cuttings and hanging baskets that actually really work well in this southwest-facing window, which is the only set of windows that faces a neighboring unit. So the plants that I have in here also act as a bit of a privacy screen as well. time of filming this video, I have 40 potted plants in this space, not including the cuttings, and I still feel like it's open and spacious enough to work and create in without feeling cramped. I am definitely someone who needs a clean and uncluttered workspace to feel creative, so I like actually leaving lots of negative space in this room. I feel that also allows me to play with and alter the space from time to time. I will sometimes switch up the position of my art desk or move plants around just to kind of keep the space open, but with these little changes here and there that kind of freshen it up and make it feel bright and cozy and creatively energetic. And last but not least, around the corner from my art space is the final space in the apartment that we'll tour for today, which is my very tiny kitchen. It has way too little countertop space, and one day I would just love a bigger space to be able to cook in more easily, but for now it works. It's very charming, and of course my plants are happy because it too gets a pretty good deal of light in here year-round. Since I am very limited on countertop space in here and I can't really hang much from the ceilings either, the primary plant feature in this room is cuttings as well, which I have in lots of glass jars above my counter, and it's great because I don't actually have to get up there too often to add more water as they're all in pretty big jars, and it just adds a cute little touch in here so that the kitchen feels relatively full of plants like all the other rooms in the house, even though it's considerably smaller. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. The one space I did not cover in this tour is my office space, where I keep all my art inventory, and that is because at the moment it is full of suitcases and clothes and is just a total mess as we get ready to depart for Italy for our wedding in just a few days. So maybe another time I will do an office and business space tour. But for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.